New Orleans is by far one of my most favorite cities to hang out in. If you've been there or you live there, you probably get it. The history, the architecture, the food, and of course, the spooky, haunting lore that city has to offer is first rate. So the theme I'm going for this year's Halloween is Voodoo on the Bayou. I've always wanted to do a New Orleans theme. And this project is going to kick off a couple of projects that are going to get us to that Halloween party. I really like the street lamps that New Orleans has. They're very unique to the city itself. So when I came across this street lamp at the thrift store that was a Christmas street lamp, I knew that it was fate that I needed to turn this into a New Orleans street lamp. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, now that you watched me struggle to put that together, here's a quick rundown of what we're going to do with this project. I'm going to paint this a matte black paint to get rid of that sheen. You know I don't like that. Replace the light fixture, create a street name placard, grunge up the lantern, and fix a few of the broken pieces that the street lamp has. Alright, so we're going to paint this lantern black to get rid of the sheen, but first I'm going to cover up the windows with this painter's tape because I don't want that black paint to get on the windows. We are going to grunge up these windows, but in a different fashion. You'll see in a few. So now that all the sides have painter's tape on them, we're going to quickly remove these little painter tape tails that I have hanging off by just running a box cutter along the edges there and peeling them off. Alright, so now all the tails have been cut off, the windows are covered, and it's ready for some spray painting. If you know me, I like to use the chalkboard spray paint. It creates a really nice matte finish to everything I use. And then you probably know what's coming next. I'm going to use an unbleached titanium acrylic paint to age it up, give it a little dimension. So those are the next couple of steps to this project. As usual, I'm using a dry brushing technique here. I'm just going really lightly along the edges and any places where where this paint will highlight and age this lantern up a little bit. I'm going to do the whole street lamp like this. And now for something truly satisfying, peeling painter's tape. Enjoy. So now it's time to grunge up the windows. And this first technique I didn't care for. I took cotton balls and the same acrylic paint, and then I started painting them, started trying to grunge it up from the outside, which didn't work and became messy and hard to control a little bit, so I realized my mistake, luckily just by painting this one window, so I didn't get very far. The second time around, I did like this technique. Using the same cotton balls and the same paint, I went in and went on the inside. I'm not sure why that didn't occur to me to do that the first time, but, well, avoid that headache. And I really just kind of blotted and then smudged and smeared to give it that kind of dirty, old-aged look. This is going to help kind of diffuse the light when I put a flickering light inside of it. Right, so now that all sides have been aged, grungified, dirtied up, whatever you want to call it, we can now move on to some smaller things, like removing this light instrument, which was just a flicker bulb. It's not very bright, and I'm going to install an actual battery-operated flicker light inside of it. The other thing that needs to be fixed is where the street placard hangs off of. There's a little ball here on the end here, broken, so I'm going to unscrew it and glue it back together and screw it back on, and that's it. Next is to measure out the part that sticks out here where we're going to put the name placard. So I'm going to measure out how big or how wide I can actually make the sign, which is right around 12 inches, you know, leaving a little room on the side. So I've got some a spare piece of wood here that I'm going to quickly measure out, and then just quickly saw a piece off, and then get to painting it. Alright, using my Cricut Maker, I downloaded a Bourbon Street sign that I'm going to have cut out on the Cricut machine and put on both sides of that name placard. And yes, I do realize the hoe in my Funhouse sign is out. Alright, now all we do is transfer this over to both sides of the placard. I'm going to add some eye hooks to the top of it to hang it up on the street lamp, and I'm going to add some embellishments like some crows and some Spanish moss, which I know don't go on the street lamps, but we need a spooky factor to it. Alright, before we take a look at it, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Like, subscribe, and come hang out again. We'll see you next time.